Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming back to another episode of Free Akashic Records readings, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. I'm Ernesto. I'm your host, and we'll be with you here for the next hour. I do have Veretta on the line. Veretta, can you hear me right now? Are you there?
I'm here and I'm
Perfect.
ready.
All right. Now, Veretta, what is it that we need to know for this week coming up, going ahead?
Okay, this week coming up. So, for those of us that are sensitive enough to feel a lot of what goes on around us, this is going to be one of those times where I tell you, get out of your head because what you're feeling isn't necessarily pertinent to your situation. Get out of your head. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of speculation out there. So, don't go conspiracy theorist. Just weather through the next few days, and you will find that by midweek, you're going to feel a lot better about what you were hearing. You've cleared it up. You're not feeling so under the pressure to find out what's going on. And it also feels like whatever it was that you were motivated about being up in your head about has gotten clear, and it's now moved on, and you don't need to be that way. So a lot of jumping jacks, folks. Stay in place, stay in your lane. Don't worry about what's going on around you unless you have it handed to you on a silver platter. Just be okay and clear that nothing's going on.
How much closer are we towards that goal that so many of us have been working towards recently?
To ascend or die. One of the things I hear about is that this is more of a status quo. You're not really gaining ground on your goals. It isn't setting you back either. But for right now, just I would say you're a lot closer to achieving your goals. You're just not feeling it. It just doesn't seem that way. And that's why I'm saying get out of your head. Don't go to, well, it must be this, or I must have done that, or the stars didn't line up right, whatever. Okay, well, you got to give it time. It'll go away. Just don't go all pro dramatic and make more out of it than it needs to be.
So I have been working on some things recently that I've had the experience this past week that I came to the conclusion. So all of these, so like I think a lot of you know just by listening to me here on the show, and I've even said this in so many words, that I am not really a nice person. This is one of those things that I have continued to work on about myself, but I've really sort of fought it. And I'm just sort of like, do I like being, being a prickly person? Sure. It's easy, it's comfortable. I like that because I don't have to change anything. And then people seem to have this impression about me that I am warm and fuzzy, which is very far from the truth. Or maybe that's actually who I am, but I've just buried it down for so many years that I can't see that person. I don't know. Either way, the point is that people are trying to stuff me into a box that feels uncomfortable. And what's worse is that when I get it from all different angles, especially in my home life, where, like my friends and family have this expectation of me as a human being that's very different than from how I see myself. Well, that's just my own damage from everything else that's happened to me in my life. So I kind of got to set that to the side. And I've been fighting it for so many years about working on myself and these other issues or aspects of myself, like the vices and the things that I enjoy in life, really sort of taking a look at how important is this to me and how much is this serving me more importantly. And when when I decided to take the time to step back and look at all of these things in my life, I started to notice that there were these changes that were wanting to show themselves to me, but I was fighting them. And I said, okay, so stop fighting it. Just let it happen. It's this may not be for you, and that's okay. That's fine. But you don't have to just straight up say no. You don't even have to just like throw it out, because that's what I was doing. Is I was just immediately trying to bury and suppress everything that was trying to change in my life, as opposed to just accepting it. And what I found in this whole experience was that by me just letting go of the things that I can't control, for example, like these aspects of my personality or other areas of my life, by me giving up of these areas and just deciding to say, okay, well, I'm just going to leave this into God's hands now. I don't know what may come in the future, but I don't really care because I know that it's better than this. And at the same time, I also know that whatever may be shown to me, I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to let it come to me. I was really sort of surprised just by shifting the logic in my own internal programming through all of that internal dialogue, that it made that whole change process a lot less scary because it made me realize, okay, so it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. That, you know, I'm fixated on the outcome, and because I'm fixated on that, everything that happens beforehand, I'm just going to shut down. That's not even possible. But by focusing on the process, which is really what I'm fighting here, is the fact that this is going on and I don't like it. Well, quit fighting it because it's happening. Just let it happen. Let it take its own natural course. And I've really been surprised how that's opened up my intuition and just shown me all kinds of things and inspired me in ways that I could never possibly understand. So that's been an experience that I've been having lately, and this has been part of this Alchemy Annex series that I'm looking at composing here, is by me changing my own actions and doing something different, which was to not fight the changes that are being thrown at me. The quality of my life improved because the things that I am now manifesting are more of what I want. They're in alignment more of who I am in my journey in the universe, if that makes sense at all. So, Beretta, do you have any 2 cents about this and experiences to share with us about that?
Well, most definitely. It sounds like your last few days have been very full of thought and acknowledgement in self. So one of the things that you're tackling right now is probably one of the hardest to pull off, and that is examining your ego self and realizing that it doesn't have to be the one that's in control, and you're really okay just the way you are. And a lot of those coping skills and mechanisms that you picked up along the way just won't serve you anymore because you're not going to let yourself be put back in those perspectives that you're feeling attacked and having to defend yourself and feeling good about the end of the day. A lot of that stuff, when you say that you're not a nice guy, and maybe you are, but you really don't know it, and maybe it should be that way, it doesn't feel like it. You really are somewhat elusive in how you come off. Even today, you're not very transparent in what you need people to learn about you. But the reality of it is those times that you're feeling grumpy, they're there for a reason. Those times where you're feeling not okay, they're there for a reason. But it doesn't mean you have to change your whole world about that. It may mean that there's just a slight adjustment needed. There's a situation ahead of you that you're going to need to come up with perfect attitude, perfect motivation. Your ethics are intact completely about yourself. And then when you stand your ground, you're okay because your foundation's strong with clear stuff. It's not shaky. It's not going to bust out on you the first time it rains. You're building a strong foundation about who you are, what you've come to understand about yourself, what you've acknowledged about yourself, what you're trying to change about yourself. You really are in a soul-searching quest right now. And so everything you're feeling is not something you have to act on. When you're not feeling very nice, ask why. What's the trigger event that created that person to come to the surface? There are reasons that we act the way we do. When you find those reasons and then start to work on them, you can then moderate or behave differently associated to what you used to do with something. And eventually the habit of just bristling up and being a little bit mean or mad about what's going on will go away. Your true self will actually come to the surface, and stay long enough that it's got a full hold anchor into your reality of today, and that you don't need to be icky to be defensive. You can just like come up into your cerebral and drop a quote or a bomb verbally and walk away. So it's not, again, like I said at the very beginning about the next 3 days, it's not a hill to die on right now. Don't let it get all up in your head enough that it creates so much noise. You feel like you have to do something about it to make it go away. No, you don't. No, you don't. Just observe you right now. Keep doing what you're doing. Just observe you and how you respond to things and how it affects you. And don't get caught up in making a scheme about how to get them back or how to be nice and then hurt them in such a way. Don't do that. You stay out of your head for the next couple 3 days. Just stay out of your head, because a lot of what you'll be hearing and seeing is irrelevant. Completely 100% irrelevant. So don't act on that stuff. Don't bring your ego full body armor to the front and say, okay, how about these people lay waste because I don't like what they said and it really bothered me, but there's nothing I can do about it. So go ahead, jump on them, and you're going to find that when you don't give them permission to do so, you're going to be very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. But the reality of it is you're in charge, not your ego. And yeah, maybe your ego is uncomfortable, but that's the way it needs to stay, or that's the way it needs to be, because the reality of the situation calls for me to either blow up and go home or be nice and let passivity come through like it's my, best friend. And you'll have to decide quickly in those situations. You won't have a lot of days or two to think of it. You'll have to decide. And so it's your better bet at this point in your evolution, no matter what you're doing, where you're at, or what's going down. It's better on your behalf to just go slow, continue being or focusing on your solo act, and don't let the peons get in the way. Just look at them and laugh and sidestep it and move forward. And don't try to engage that behavior, those negative thoughts. Nothing that comes across to you right now as a benefit is not needed. None of that is needed.
When I went down the whole line of questioning it, it's a result of me looking inside at myself and saying, okay, so who am I and how can I be more of my authentic self? What I ended up realizing is I'm actually afraid to have nice things. And I think this is actually endemic of a lot of people in general. Just the fact that we give so much of ourselves to literally everything else that is not us. But that we can put other people on pedestals rather than addressing our own self-care needs. All of that whole dialogue and everything else that's associated with it. This is something that I am really sort of wrestling with right now. I've been introduced to a new group of people through public speaking that have been so uplifting and terrific and just really wonderful. And it's so different than what I'm used to, because remember that I'm a consultant. My main question is, here is everything that's wrong and why. Let's address that. This is why you hire me. Let's figure out the elements of your life that we can make better, and here's how we make those adjustments. That's essentially what I do. And not just in astrology, but also when it comes to literally everything else in my life in terms of like screenwriting and any other conversations or dialogues that I may have with people. This is just a common thing for me, is excavating an issue and just looking at the ugliness of something and trying to make that better. And now suddenly I'm being presented with this group of people where everybody is positive and uplifting. And they can do, here is everything that's wrong and why. But they do it in such a positive, uplifting way that you don't even know that they're being negative or critical of you. Like, that is truly a skill and a half. And I think that's kind of why I'm being called to come back to address my public speaking skills again, is to get into some of those conversations and figure out how to adjust that rhetoric by watching them, because it's really, really damn impressive how these people can do this. And something that, as a customer service rep, that I absolutely would love to learn how to be more positive to people in a way that gets them to understand that, I'm really sorry I can't help you in this moment, but here's why. It's one of those kinds of things. So I had this experience where every single meeting that I have with these people, they're great, and then I'm just kind of like, oh, but I have 6 thorns in my side. I should probably clean up my behavior if I want to make sure that I get voted in as a member. Because if I'm always just going to have this black storm cloud over my head, people aren't really going to want to bring or allow that into their environment, right? So it's kind of been forcing me to look at myself in some different ways. But when I do the deep digging of that whole process of, like, why am I not warm and fuzzy and all of that, then really what it all comes down to is that I am afraid of having nice things. Like, I also have somebody else in my life that I've been introduced to recently that I've had some really terrific conversations with, and even looking at their chart, I tell myself, this person is a dreamboat. This is like literally everything I could have asked for. I made this person through my own alchemy and actions. I'm so proud of myself. Everything about this is just like glowing kittens and rainbows, perfect. Now, in the back of my mind, okay, so why aren't they a killer? Let's try to prove that. And I'm kind of thinking, why do I have to do that? To stain, something that is so beautiful and so perfect, and then it's like, all right, now let's test that he's not a killer, or let's test that they're not a narcissist or some other issue. And it's just like, why does it have to immediately escalate to that? Which is a change in my internal dialogue, because even 2 years ago, everything would have been like, bury your head in the sand. Don't look at all that other stuff. It's not possible. So I'm beginning, I guess, through my own conditioning, I'm starting to realize that I do have some issues in the back of my mind with nice things, I guess, that I'm used to everything being broken and having to deal with that everything can't just be easy street. And this is my life story, by the way, so we're not going to get into that because I'll save that for my therapist. But this is something that I've become aware of recently, and I think a lot of us really struggle with, is it is okay to have nice things. You can have them. It's not that you can't have them. You just have to shift the focus off all of that other stuff that we've been so accustomed to looking at.
Yep, you're absolutely right on that. And when we shift our focus, not only can we see more about ourselves, we see everything externally crystal clear, like what our participation is in it. And you do this in a flash of a second. It's not like you take a 30-minute break to meditate on all these things that just come at you. When you first meet someone, your brain's already in gear because they know, well, psychically, they know this is going to happen, but they also know viscerally that there's change that's going to come. There's possibility here. You never know who these people are you're going to meet and what they want and who they are. So you get in receptive mode, and you're hypervigilant to watch everything going on. And that is where you may hear your ego pop in and start to give advice or start to give rhetoric on what's being done, what's been told, or who's saying what, or why they're there. That's where you then need to go ahead and reinforce it. Your ego, get back in the box and shut its little trap, and you can hear whomever's talking so much quicker and clearer that way, that because you don't have the filter of the ego, that everything comes through it, and now you have to decide, did I just hear something I like or not? Because your ego is really trying to mess with that new relationship status, and that's fear. Every bit of that is fear-based. So when you just lay it right on down to the bare muscle, and you realize that there's an issue with what's going on laid way back into your body, then you can start on uncovering how to deal with that. You can start on that, making it making it your priority to listen to instead of the little voice in your head that's saying, "Oh, look here now, what do we got? This is so and so. He's going to be a such and such, and yeah, we're going to have to put up with that." No, we're not. And so, you waste time when you have to feel that out, but you won't be even available to hear it in your mind. Your mindset is going to be like, "Yeah, no, I'm not interested in this kind of guidance, so quit it." And that's a habit. And so because that's a habit, it takes so many days to literally get through it being something fresh on your mind all the time. And you're not, you won't be in a position to have to struggle. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Do I say something? Do I not? Do I lay waste? Do I not? What do we do? Well, that's not even going to be in your head talking all the time. That's not even going to be a conscious thought for you to have to pursue. And then that's where you start listening to the quiet mind and how it's responding to things. And you'll find that the difference is ego's nonstop talking. Ego doesn't shut up to save your soul. But when you're listening with that higher point of view, when you're connected to the higher self, you're listening from love, then you're doing no talking. You're listening literally to everything that goes on around you before you try to put your 2 cents in there. And you evaluate absolutely everything there is to know before you bring any guidance into place. Because if it's already been tried or that's not something they'd like to do, then you just lost a lot of valuable time. So listening to your ego is the essence of where your ego goes corrupt. So start by telling your ego, you know what, that's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. We don't need to judge everybody. We don't need to run amok. We don't need to set the place on fire because we heard something we didn't like. Fine. It's just fine. You just let your higher self field those things that don't feel comfortable to you and let them decide how to handle it. And you would take a break. Eat your steak salad or whatever and not even worry about what's going on because you don't have to think about being in charge of it. Now, then that leaves you, your authentic self, time to allow reflection or, troubleshoot your next job or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And you're not doing it from the ego perspective of drama, drama, drama. You're doing it from the higher self perspective of no emotion, just figure out what's going on and fix it. No need to feel what's going on, just fix it. And you live a lot calmer, a lot simpler that way. Your life is a lot less burdensome, for sure.
This is one of the things I really like about Uranian Astrology because when I was getting into a lot of like psychic development and divination and I was sort of figuring out what it was that I wanted to work with, for example, like to work with the tarot was very difficult because most of the time, when you're a horny, lovesick 20-something who is just young and stupid like everybody else their own age, then it's difficult for you to be objective about, like, so what am I even looking at? Because remember, when we talk about the ego, really what the ego fears most of all is death. And, death doesn't necessarily mean, like, physically to check out. Death can also just very simply mean failure, right? That we did not get that thing that we were really wanting. That's what death is in this sense. So it's not we have to reframe the terms that we're sort of working with here. And then once we do that, when we look at working with other divination tools, it's really hard for us to get out of our own way because when we're wanting to know about some lovesick issue and if this person is really going to give me a call or if I got ghosted before that was even a thing, if that's the nature of my question, I'm probably not going to get very good information. So then what ends up happening is I decide to abuse oracles. This is a thing where I call like a psychic hotline and then I talk to about like 7 different operators until I get the answer that I want to hear, right? So this is an experience that we have all had, been there, done that. We don't need to do it again. It all comes back to what am I doing different? And this is something that I've been really fighting with myself with. And this, when we talk about behavior modification, this is something that we can all do that's very simple and very easy. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but just walk the other way in terms of your actions. Do the other thing that you haven't been doing for a while. So for me, this was putting people on pedestals. I finally decided to stop doing that. I decided to take the focus back on myself, and I realized, why am I putting these other people on pedestals who don't care about me? Because I can drop everything in my life so that I can come running to them. But when in their life, I'm just like nothing. I'm a peon to them. So it's not even worth their time. So why am I prioritizing this type of individual? And when I really looked at that, a lot of my commitments sort of changed because I realized, oh, so these people, they're just, whatever these structures are, they're just not healthy for me. They're not serving me, so I can just get rid of them. And by dropping a lot of those kinds of connections and focusing on myself and the things that I enjoy, that really helped me a lot. Not only in terms of my mental health, but also what I manifested in my own personal life, just from a day-to-day basis. The things that I was getting were more reflective of me because I decided to prioritize myself as opposed to these other people where, let's say that the business offers that I were getting were always about like, buy this company, like give us money. It was always about let's just say that the email offers that I would get were more focused on give us something as opposed to give you something, if that makes sense. So that's sort of like how that my manifestations changed just by doing a little behavior modification. We can all do this. And when it comes to any areas of life, just whatever, run the opposite direction of whatever it was that you're doing, and you'll be surprised what happens because remember, your own actions created it. So when we talk about like your actions made this person, well, that's true. So whatever areas of your life that you're working on, what are you doing to yourself to change for the most positive thing possible? I am of the belief that our souls decided to come here on this earth so that we can learn and so that we can grow. Is that true? Is that really what life is all about? At the most basic level, is that why we're here?
Yeah. It is. It is why we're here. We're here to learn. We're here to advance the soul without the need for ego
Right. So
and
if
learn
that's
to
true,
live in harmony.
then why do we want to stagnate? Why do we want to just do that thing that's comfortable and not push for taking the highest road possible, like really making the most out of this life experience? Why would we not want to do that if this life is truly something that we only experience once? I mean, if it really is true that this is a simulation and once this is over, then the real life begins, whatever we do now is a reflection of what we manifest in the future. That's the way I like to look at it because everything else is too broken otherwise and really just depressing, and I want a refund because 50 years from now, if I'd tried out this life, it would have turned out a lot different. Let's just say that. But we won't get into that.
Oh yeah.
That's just something that we all have to think about is do I want to stay here with what's comfortable, with what's warm, with what I know, or do I want to try to break out into the open world and do that thing that I've been afraid of for so long? And let's just see what happens by trying it a little bit. I was really shocked
Right.
by just giving it a little bit of a try. And by me being smart enough to have a counselor in the background as like a sounding board in case everything comes falling to just hot garbage, then at least I have somebody there to help figure some things out in case I need to solve some problems because that's not always comfortable when you go through that because going through change by yourself is a lot scarier than doing it with somebody that you have to talk to.
Yes, well, that's scarier because we hold ourselves accountable. We are our own worst enemy when it comes to judging us. If we're in a healthy body, that when we talk about other things and other people. We're not so consumed with ourselves. That's all we see. We're at the center point of anything we hear. If you hear someone talking about something going on, you're immediately how you would be different than that, how you would be better, or how you would be clear of the situation and not caught up in So, oh my God, so what am I going to do? Um, when you can embrace any situation without that rhetoric going on, you got clear of your ego. You got clear of how to discern what's right and what's wrong, what's theirs and what's you. And when you're coming from that place of, oh, no, that isn't mine. I really don't need to take a defensive approach at it. It wasn't about me. It's all about them. Or you come onto a situation and you're like, holy cow, this is what could happen. If this could happen, it would only improve the situation tenfold. You've got to quit being in a position of wondering what you're there for and just observing. Just observe. You don't need to participate. Even if you see some damaged area that really needs some help from something, that's not on you to fix it. So when you're talking about becoming your higher self, that means you're going to participate less in what goes on around you because you're really not trying to prove anything to anybody. You're to be clear, you're just there to learn, and you learn when it feels right to engage, and you take the situation as it is instead of trying to morph it in some way that you're comfortable with it, nor make mistakes. Don't be like you're thinking you have to right some wrong because of whatever's taking place with you, and you just got there. It's just there's so many things that we need to do to be accountable for ourselves. Put the ego, put all the labeling aside. There's work to be done for sure, and that work is on you, not everybody and everything else. If you can balance out being in the minute, being in the moment, being clear of agenda with your life and what you're trying to do, make everybody learn about you. If you can be clear and just be in the moment, adjusting to when you need to, whatever's at hand, and not being all wanked out about not getting your way about something, knowing that, okay, well, that didn't happen. That's, what's the next plan? You are able to listen to spirit uncorrupt and actually dilate into where the energy or information is coming from and have a one-on-one dialogue. So what did I say? I just said if you were able to stay in the minute, your head would be clear enough that you'd be speaking with whatever your guides, whoever your guides are, or God, depending upon who you are and what's important to you. And make no mistake, you're still going to have to participate in life, but you're not taking on more than you have to, nor more than you can, because you're there to be an audience and only participate when necessary, and learn what you can from not engaging. Learn from the situation without getting involved with what anything's going on. And I'll tell you, where a narcissist or self-absorbed individual is concerned, that right there is a chore. Not having to make an end game, not having to have some type of open collateral that's going to be damaged if we do harm, not needing to worry about who's in control of the situation, and if you want to complain, who to go complain to, or if you want to change it, where do you start now? You don't do any of that. All of that is ego-oriented information, and that's not necessary for us. You can be your own boss and live life comfortably, as long as you can get out of your head and stop hearing yourself say, well, this isn't good enough. So when I reach a certain time or I get to a certain level, I'm going to change what isn't good enough and I'm going to make it more me. That time is right now. Stop waiting. Don't hesitate for a minute. If you've got the money and you're not going to bankrupt yourself and you happen to see something you really like, get it. If you have to have an opportunity comes through you where you get to, take a flight and go get on a cruise, get it, take it. If you can afford to do these things, or if you have the time to do these things, and it can enhance your life, not upset it, then you need to participate in those time frames. You need to make that stuff count, because these are the offers your life has when you're feeling like, well, no, I can't do any of that because I just don't have XYZ, then you're putting boundaries on yourself. They're not. Spirit's not doing that to you. You're not you doing that to you. So then you have to be pretty conscientious about, well, how much damage do I want Spirit to give me? And at all costs, do I want to have to live my life through somebody else's variable? And if you say, no, I live the way I want to, then tell me who taught you how to live. Somebody else did. So you're living somebody else's variable. So when you're authentic and able to live in the fullest and in the moments as they come without trying to shift everybody's attention to you or be king of the hill or your motion picture superstar, whatever. If you can leave the situation alone and only participate when you absolutely have to, now life is good. Now you have a lot of time to do anything else that you want. And you deserved it too, because you weren't taking shots at everything around you, making life miserable, pointing anything that was a deficit out, and being the one that's called to be in charge. Forget about that. That's not worth anybody's dream to be the one in control, because reality of it is they would have been in control already if they really wanted to. So they're just trying to be a victim. Don't let them scream at you. You can let them scream all day long. Just don't open the window. And being present, like I said, is your key to success at all times.
You know, when you talk about like don't engage, the first thing that comes to mind is food. I don't know why, but that's the first thing that I think of when I think about like, you know, don't engage. You know, a lot of us, that I'm sure what you're referring to is don't pick up the phone for that person that you know you shouldn't be getting involved with. But you know, I'm thinking to myself,
Yep.
don't open your mouth, don't put it on your waistline. You know, and I think that that's something that a lot of us very simply just struggle with when we go through that whole weight loss process is, what the heck am I supposed to do with my time? You know, like the anxiety that surrounds non-action of I'm not opening my mouth at this exact moment, which is something that I'm used to, like stuff my face and my feelings because, you know, like I don't know what's going to happen, that uncertain future kind of thing. And now we're talking about doing something different. So I just thought that was funny. I just wanted to bring that up because I think that that is something that a lot of us really sort of struggle with.
Yeah, it is. It is very hard to understand or know what approach to take. Do I do more? Do I run away? Do I keep my mouth shut? What do I do here? You know, so it's kind of difficult every once in a while.
So we are going to get off to our phone lines and we're going to get off to area code 510 here. Let me just see here. Hi, you're on Celestial Intersections Radio. May I have your name and date of birth, please?
Tamika, it's 06/22/1975.
And what time were you born?
What?
What time were you born?
At 10:31 in the morning.
And where were you born?
In California.
Okay, we're at in California.
Oakland.
Oakland. Okay, and I'm sorry, what did you say your name was again?
Tamika.
Tamika. All right. And Tamika, do you have a question for us today, or would you like a general reading?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay, what's that?
I know I had a past life with somebody who's a public figure, but I want to know, will we ever communicate?
I'm sorry, that doesn't. So you had a past life with somebody, and you want to know, will you communicate with them? So, like, if you're going to meet up with them,
In
is
this
that?
life, yeah.
And what is their name?
Yeah. I don't want to say. They're just a public figure. It's two of them. I don't want to say their names.
Can we get some initials, something, because we're unable to connect to that energy if we don't have some information to work with.
Okay, NJ.
Okay, Veretta, what you got for NJ?
So one of the things I was picking up was that you said there were two of them. One of them was going to be one of them
Yeah.
gone. That's not even a thing anymore. And the first one, I feel like it's something that you really don't want to mess with them right now. You don't want to even hit their radar, because of the security or whatever protective measure they've got in place. They would smash you like a fly and not even think twice about it. So be very conscientious that this individual does not plan to come back into your life. And somehow, if it does come down to you just happen to be out at the same party or event and see each other, don't be stressed that he doesn't even look your way. It's just going to be very profound that this individual does not have the time it's going to take to acknowledge you. He doesn't want to. He doesn't. If that's inconvenient for him, there's not anything in there that this individual is going to want to make public or have anybody know anything about by even acknowledging your existence. So don't be upset.
What happened in our past? Was it bad?
Huh?
Do you have a bad past life? What happened?
Him?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily a bad past. It's just I think he's been schooled, he's been told, he's been taught. It's reaffirmed to him time and time again, you can't talk with the public. They are outsiders, they are not your friend. And so he pretty much was, you know what I mean? He was groomed, told, advised, constantly.
Okay.
Keep your mouth shut. Don't acknowledge even just so much as a friend. Don't do that. And that's what you're going to feel and I feel like you will, like I said, eventually end up at the same event or the same situation. Not necessarily together, but you see each other.
Right.
You know you're
I
there.
understand that
right?
part. Yeah, I understand that part. I just want to know if we would ever come across each other's path or anything like that.
Yeah,
I feel the energy strong.
They're not. No. Yeah, there'll come a time, but don't even, just be all innocent and don't worry about it. And don't be alarmed and disappointed, if nothing is brought up about you or in regard to him.
Okay. That's understandable. What about the second one?
The second one, I think, is long gone. I don't see them ever running across your path again.
Oh, okay.
I feel like the level of information that I'm getting is that he's got an agenda. He's got a goal. He is working hard to get where he wants to be. Nothing's going to slow him down, and he's literally not even ever going to look back.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so, what have you got for this?
Yeah, so taking a look at this, it's I'm asking a couple of questions about your chart just to sort of see what's going on. So the first one, if we look at where was this one? I didn't put a marking. There we go. So if we're talking about your karma, which is, I think, sort of something we'd look at here in this case, because you're wanting to know about a past life issue and that deals with karmic sort of planets. Let's take a look at that. And what I didn't find a whole lot when it came to that. What I will say is that there's a relationship that I think is sort of like more of the main story that you're wanting to talk about. Like there is a connection to somebody who is older.
No, it's a friendship. I know it's a friendship. It's just a friendship.
Are they older than you?
With both of these, one's older than me, and the other one is not. But I know they're both friendships.
Well, I feel like the person who's older than you, that has a much better chance to blossom into something. But that timing is not now. It's not anytime soon. I know it's not new. Right.
I know that part.
Okay, so, but I feel like that this would be a connection to somebody who is older, and that is something that that you, as far as your experience is concerned, that this person will end up in your thoughts a lot. So I think this is more of a thought than anything else right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I called. That's exactly why I called in, because they are in my dreams a lot, and I'm trying to figure out why. I know we're friends, but my concern is, why are you in my dreams?
Well, I think that's just a connection. That's like some visions of some other stuff on different timelines that's already happened, that your soul is just sort of working out, just sort of like letting that go. I do feel like that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's really what that is, and there is a connection here, but this is just somebody older. I feel like that, as far as like an astral travel perspective is concerned, that this would be that the reason you're being shown this person is because you've got some personal responsibility issues that, those are some downloads that you're receiving. So this is some new information that you're getting. And let me see. Yeah, so that's sort of what that's all about. I do feel like that they are in your thoughts and everything, and they will come back. But that's what this is all related to, is issues around self responsibility there here. And we just got Veretta back on the line again. So yeah, I do think that this isn't the time. This isn't the time for that. But that's why that connection is being made.
Oh,
okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So I want to just add to the portion of you saying that they were in your thoughts a lot and they were coming into your dreams. Okay, so what happens a lot of times when that takes place is that they are communicating with you, not necessarily to be having conversations, but just to tap in to know you're still alive. And their thinking about you is what brings them into your mind. So most likely you're still very active with this individual on the astral plane. When you're sleeping at night, there's a lot you're working with this individual doing, and you've got a lot of karmic debt, if you will, and I'm not going to try to explain, but the reality of that is you don't have enough time in your waking hours to deal with all that. So you're definitely still dealing with that when you're asleep. You're out of body and you're communicating with him, and that's what it is that you go wake up going, well, crap, I had a dream, another one. What is that all about? Or you're going about your day and all of a sudden he pops in your head. Those are times where he's thinking of you, and that's what's happening. You're picking it up. Does that mean you respond to it? No. It just means this dude's constantly got you on his mind, and he biffed it, and he knows it, and he's not happy about his choices, and that's carrying over through to you. But again, it's not anything you can do anything about.
Yeah,
I know that.
I just want to add this because I had this experience also myself a couple of years ago, that when I was going through this whole personal alchemy of trying to create my perfect partner and everything, one of the very early stages in that whole process for me was one of my old doctors, somebody from my past a long time ago. That whole scenario just did not fit for me at all. Like psychically, it was just sort of like, no, sorry, don't want. And what ended up happening is I pursued this person to really the point of harassment. It was like I was really going to have to sign a form with HR just so that I could ever see this provider again. And it turned into a little bit of like a sick obsession in a way that was not great, that I didn't really approve of. It really disappointed me more than anything else. But this person just kept showing up in my dreams over and over and over again, and the thoughts about them would just hurt sometimes. I couldn't stop, and it was just like, please go the heck away from me. Because, I either ask me out on a date and take me out for drinks, or leave me the heck alone, because this is just too much for me to deal with.
Right.
So this was
mine is it's not a burden. It's more of he's just giving me ideas to go into. That's what he's done. It's not a burden or a harassment type thing. He's helping me in the dream state.
Yeah, see, that speaks to those downloads that I was kind of getting into. And for me, what ended up happening is that whole relationship may have imploded and nothing came of it. But at the same time, what happened was I took the best pieces of that, which was to have somebody who was a little bit more responsible who worked in medicine and taking those elements and then morphing those into a way that works a little bit better for me. So that would be like to have somebody who's younger but more mature who I can mentor along the way. And you know, it's just one of those kinds of things. So that's sort of how I was able to change the result of who I manifest in my future through my own actions. But that gets
Yeah.
again to that conversation at the beginning. But that's why you're having this experience with this individual, and they're
Yeah,
showing
because
up in your
in
dreams.
the dream state, it's more like, yeah, in the dream state, it's more like we're family. He's helping me, I'm helping him, things like that. We're all working together.
Well, and you got to remember too that those would encompass past lives or other dimensional lives. Um, so yeah, you're helping each other because what you got done here wasn't, it's not like it was out of line, but it wasn't what he was here to do. That's not what he was here to do. So you're working on things together at night
Right.
when you're out of
Yeah,
body.
yeah, in dream state. Yeah, in dream
Yep.
state, we're working together.
Yep. Yep.
Because I can remember the dream very vividly. So it's not like we're harassing each other or we're hurting. He's more of,
Yeah.
let me help you with this, and I'm like, okay, I'll help you with that.
Yeah. That's good. Good.
Well,
But
to
don't
make
let
it,
it
was
bother you that he's always in your thought and not in your heart, not your arms. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
so Tamika, it was great to have you on the show. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and give us a call back to let us know how it turned out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we'll catch up with you real soon. Until next time, many blessings. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, and we are going to catch up with Jessica here from area code 267. Hi, Jessica. Are you on the air? Can you hear me right now?
Hey, yeah, good. I wasn't sure I was going to get on today.
Oh, no, we
I
got
just
you.
have a question about finances because I am going to meet with this guy who runs a farm tomorrow. And I think I'm going to speak to him about, well, I am speaking, it's like an interview. I'm speaking to him about like working there part-time. But, and it's everything that I want, but it's kind of far away, and gas is expensive, and it's going to be more expensive this summer. And also the pay is low. So I feel kind of torn, and I just go in like loops around it because the things that I want to do, they're enriching, they're calling from my heart is calling to them, but I want to be able to support myself abundantly. And my concern is like, if I take these jobs that are doing things that I really like, then initially I might be like kind of a little bit in this, I don't know. I don't want to work extra hours, which I already kind of see that. So I'm just kind of wondering what you guys are picking up around that. I just want to come to peace with it.
Okay, so it's, just to be clear, it's about a new job. Is that right?
Yeah, like one is to work on this farm. The other one is like to work with dogs. So both are awesome. Both are what I want to do, but they're both a low rate. Yeah.
Okay, all right, Veretta, what you got for a new job?
Okay, so one of the things I'm hearing is it's not so much the job that you're going to take, it's the communication and the network that's going to bring information your way. It feels to me like you're going to get an opportunity through either one, actually, and I'm not seeing one over the other being more important to take. So I'm seeing that you're going to get opportunity that comes from someone in one of those places. And the reality of it is it's not a job that you're about to take, it's a reference book. So I feel like it would be the farm that brings that information in at some point down the road. But the other one, like I said, the other one would bring it too. But that's going to be a really high pace, fast moving, fast changing, ever changing kind of situation. So listen to your own, body tell you what it is that you think you should do from your nucleus, do that with muscle testing, and be sure to get straight with, if you have an interest more in one direction than the other, then that's probably which one you should take versus waiting for some kind of thing to give you divination of which one to choose. So get real in your head. Don't like, oh, well, I really didn't want that. Get so much more from going. I already talked myself into taking the other one. Well, then why did you even ask again? So this gets real straight with you opening up to spirit and allowing your intuition to fill in and following that intuition until you get the idea of, or the aha moments from whatever connections you're about to make, and then hang in there for that. That's gonna be another whole ball game that you're gonna, want to be sure that you're there the entire time, that you take the opportunities that you're going to be granted, and that you listen for the clues that you receive in regard to your new running mates and who they're going to be and what they're going to offer. Don't hesitate to share.
Yeah, go ahead. Say
Don't
that the money. Yeah.
Yeah, don't hesitate to share with what you know things to be, but just be sure that you know that you're there to receive information. Propagate is fine, but they're not really going to take your lead. The money itself, like I said, it's the job is secondary. It's not about getting the pay rate that you're going to get. It's about being in the right place at the right time. So most possibly you're going to have to fill in the gap financially and work something else every once in a while or part-time to get the money that you need to make ends meet in this situation. But I don't see it being a long-term job. I definitely see it being something that will fill the gap until you get a good job and then have made all these contacts you're supposed to get, and then you move on to something else. But that's a few months, quite a few months down the road. So let's see what Ernesto gets. Maybe he's got a little bit more detail for you in that.
Okay. And just to confirm, like I think I'm gonna, if that dog job is offered to me, like I know the farm job's gonna be offered to me. The dog one, the lady was like has a little couple issues I kind of picked up through email. But if that's offered to me too, I'm gonna take that. So I'm gonna end up taking both jobs. It's not really like an either or. I know it's a bigger picture here, like what you're saying, exactly what you're saying. I was like, this is the information I need. This is the next steps for me. I guess it's just like, don't think about the money thing, but I've lived in Alaska for so long, like I kind of like know better by now, but I know it's, because I also have like issues at times with my energy. So I didn't want to be overextending myself and working all the time. So that is what is the main concern for me.
That kind of comes into play here. Because honestly, if you're going to take both jobs, you're going to also need to outline when you have a break. And not, oh, well, okay, I know somebody isn't going to show up and you really need me, so I'll volunteer. No, you're not. Knock it off. Don't do that. Just take it for what it's worth, that if your days off are, if they necessitate you come in because they don't have any help, then that's where you need to reevaluate that job. But if they can be cool about the fact that you have to take one day off, and whether they know about each other doesn't matter. The finality is you have to have at least one day off a week, and you're not picking up the phone or acknowledging any text saying, "Oh my God, somebody didn't show up. Please come in." It's not going to happen. You've got to be able to have boundaries. And so, to make this complete, then that would make sense. In that, what you have to do for yourself now is by no means step over your own line that says, no, I can't, or no, I won't. And just take those days off, or that day off that you absolutely need. Money will come in. It just isn't right now. Money will come in. you're just going to have to, hesitate to buy that one thing that you think you have to have, or, you know, complete some type of payment promise that is going to leave you just bare thread skin. So don't do that. Live with what you have, enjoy what you've got, take breaks when you have to, and, plan with your higher self the final plot a lot easier, with looking at your intuition as it's coming through then. So just kind of listen to yourself. And like I said, let's see what Ernesto has to bring in with this.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Jessica, taking a look here, you've kind of got a lot of stuff when it comes to your issues about work, which is really sort of what we're focused on right now. Now, taking a look a little bit further, it is absolutely true that you are going through a period where your work is unpaid. And, it's just an unfortunate thing that we live in a world where the world is really, really quite expensive to live in anymore. So this is a thing that you need to be aware of and always keep it on the forefront, that unless if you're being paid, you're not doing it. And the reason I say that is the boundaries that you need to have with employers and other people need to be, really, really, really firm. And the reason why is, if you're watching our YouTube stream, you'll see here on my screen that I've got some black circles around Hades. You have all three of them with an arrow that's being drawn across the chart, and that's just to show you that all three of those planets are in the same position. And then you've also got Saturn 3 times and some green squares. So I put that all there because Saturn is going to represent your boundaries. That's going to represent your responsibilities. Hades is going to get into that unpaid work and also just sort of like you feeling out of sorts. So what's happening here is it is really true that you do need to have some time off when it comes to work, because the jobs that you get, let's be very clear that they're definitely not the jobs that you want, but they're not paying what you need to be paid either. But what they are absolutely doing is fulfilling the need to get referrals, to have other issues taken care of. So your future work issues will be knocked out of the way by you taking these unpleasant positions here. Now, when it comes to the boundaries, let me be clear when I say you have to have some time off, and time off is defined as more than one day. Like, you need a full 2 days a week, like at least. And the reason why is because, you're dealing with such unpleasant work conditions right now and not being paid for them or enough for what you're worth. And then you're being overworked on top of it, and it's having this negative side effect where the opposite side of that coin is, I push myself too hard and I develop cancer. Because you put Saturn and Hades together, all we need is Neptune, and we have the third planet there for Cancer. So we have 2 of the 3 planets that we use for Cancer here. So we don't want your work situation to turn into that. So this is where we have to be really careful, where we look at your life and we say, okay, so we can avoid all of this by you putting up those boundaries and saying that I'm going to take care of myself here, because these situations, these conditions are not great, but I have to live through them for right now. And this is how I'm going to get through them, is by putting up these walls to let people know that I'm just not having it.
See, it's interesting that you're talking about the whole boundaries thing, both of you guys, because that's what I went through with this other job I was at for a couple of months. And then I've just kind of been recovering over the last month. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. But like this job, like the farm job, can either be several days or it could be like maybe 1 or 2. But my concern is that it's far away. It's like a 40-minute drive, which is not great. And it's going to be tough work. But I am interested in being there. But then the dog job is 5 days a week. Normal hours, like, which I like that. I don't, I hope that job's going to be offered to me. It's closer, but I wanted to do both, but that's the issue I'm dealing with. Like, I don't see how I can do both.
You can't.
Because I get exhausted. So, but if I just do one, if I just do one, it's barely paying my rent. And I have other expenses above that. Obviously you have to pay for food, and this is like really, so that is the concern that loops in my mind of like, I really just wanted to work 5 days a week.
Well,
but with these jobs, there's no higher pay right now.
Let me give you a little
Because
bit of perspective, Jessica, that regardless of what job is presented to you, it just straight up won't pay enough. That's just a thing right now, that no jobs are paying what you need to have paid right now. So you're going to have to get creative and figure out, like, the 5 day a week job that's more of what you're looking for. Great. So then what's your side hustle? What are you going to try to spend your off hours doing for that? So that'll give you some time to give you some thought to look into those areas of your life. But it doesn't really matter if it's this position or another one for a different company. It just doesn't matter. It's not the time to be paid well for work. So I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind, that if you think that something better is going to come
yeah,
along, the answer is no. Not right now, anyway.
okay. How long is that lasting for?
This is gonna be at least for the next 6 to 12 months here. So it's gonna be a bit of a grind here.
Mm. Yeah, that's not great at all. And also, if I'm doing a side hustle, then yeah, I'm working more than 5 days a week, which is what I didn't want to do.
Well, if the side hustle is something that you enjoy, then you're never really working.
Which is the deal with both of these jobs. They're both things that I enjoy. Like, one of them's working for a rescue. None of the rescues pay well. I mean, I feel blessed to actually find a job that is a paid job at a rescue. Because all of them, when I initially came out here, they were all like, "Oh, you volunteer." I'm like, "I'm not doing that." So, but like, this is like sort of the field I want to be in, is the animal rescue.
Again,
So I do see it as
it's only temporary, and it's just to get you
Yeah.
the referrals and the connections that you need. So it's
Right. Right.
the moment you feel a breaking point, it's time to cut the cord. Then that structure no longer needs to be there. So this is just for a little bit here. But the unpaid thing, that's going to be, or underpaid at least, that's going to be an issue for you that you're going to have to fight against. So this is going to be a time for you to get a backup plan going. So when you do enter those other situations in the future, then you're ready for them.
Okay. Oh, that's unfortunate. But right. Okay. Yeah, you spend so much time sort of like climbing that mountain and like developing things that you're like, okay, and I'm ready to be paid really well now. And it's like, we're kind of switching things around and, not yet. And it's like, not crazy about that. So.
Greta, do you
Yeah.
have anything else for Jessica here?
So just hang in there. I think don't worry so much about putting emphasis on why you have that job. If you get the farm job, and you have room, you have a number of hours on any time off, you have room, then you should decide if that's something that you want to bring in. But your main hustle is really what you need to depend upon, bringing you the information, contacts, networking of sorts to begin with, and then see what else follows that. You might have an opportunity through there, or even another opportunity through the rescue if you don't get it, to do a little bit of something with animals like you want. So don't worry about it. Just keep hanging in there
Okay.
with
All right,
whatever,
thanks,
whatever
Kathy.
comes at you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, take care, and until
Okay.
next time, many blessings.
Many blessings. Bye-bye.
Okay. And we do want to thank all of our guests for coming out today and joining us. That's going to be it for our show here today. And we do want to thank Allison as well for listening there. We do appreciate your subscriber. It really does mean a lot to us. So for all other things, your Uranian Astrology, be sure to go over to eastrologer.tv, and you can hit up Veretta at verettavision.com. If you did enjoy your reading with us here on the show, be sure to donate to the show's overhead expenses. It really does make a difference. Your contributions really do mean a lot to us. Okay, well, it was a great, terrific show. As always, Veretta, thank you so much for joining me here. It was great to have you, and we look forward to catching you all on our next show on Wednesday. We were going to do a pre-recorded format, but we're going to give that a little bit more time yet. So our Wednesday show on the 3rd will be live. So we will be back with you guys again on Wednesday at 6 p.m. for another 1-hour show.
Yay.
Thanks so much, everybody, and until next time, good luck and Godspeed.
Bye bye.